Route network editor. So what is a TBEST route? We're going to kind of come back to that and just do a little overview. Scenario network editing, the route toolbar. We'll talk about route management tools, adding a new route and the different route types and technologies that you can implement. The route pattern editor and route operational settings. So the TBEST route network editor allows the following: review and edit GTFS network import results. We just did that. Add new routes or modify existing routes. We will do that in this particular section. Create and manage route definitions, including multiple patterns per route. Digitize route pattern segment alignments and stop locations. Define operational attributes, and define route vehicle trip departure times and in-vehicle times using the trip editor. So we'll dive into all of these options. So the first ones we want to tackle are the operational data here under the route structure. So cost, fare, route type, and seat capacity. So under our route toolbar in the routes panel, we have several tools that we can use to complete lots of tasks, including activating patterns for editing, which we've already done, accessing the trip editor, which we will soon do, accessing the service editor, looking at ridership summaries, updating operation settings, etc. Create and delete routes, copy patterns to the reverse direction, and auto-generate stops. Now, we're not going to get into all of those tools, but it's just a matter of letting you know that they're available and that you can use them in the situations that you need to use them in. Okay, so in terms of route management, we looked at this menu already where you can do different types of editing in terms of rendering and selections. You can also export routes from this menu, so you can see this option to export routes. You also have the ability to import routes from scenarios. So for scenarios that you're building, you can always import routes across scenarios and kind of trade them between, so that you're, if you need to transfer work done in one scenario to another, it's very easy to do that, to import those routes across scenarios. So in terms of adding a new route, we mentioned the route types of radial and crosstown and express and rapid. You also have a ski route type, which is more of a resort type. So that's reflective of some work that was done in Utah and Salt Lake City, that they had ski routes transit routes that went to their resorts. So we implemented those types of routes and actually did some work specifically with those. You also have flex routes, which are more where you would do be able to flag the bus down. So they're a fixed route, and it has stops, but you're also able to do a flag bus down from the roadway. You have community connectors, which are more connecting rural areas into a larger town. So it's a long distance trip that wouldn't necessarily, kind of similar to express route, but it's more of a communities that they're connecting rather than highly traveled express routes. And you have a circulator route type as well, which is generally a single direction route that operates in a loop. In terms of technology, you have bus, heavy rail, people mover, streetcar, commuter rail, light rail, and other. And we'll have descriptions of these that are in the slides as well. In terms of descriptions, you can either enter northbound, southbound, or eastbound, westbound for bidirectional routes. And by default, if you select eastbound, it will automatically select westbound for the other direction. So here you have direction A and direction B. If you select eastbound here, will automatically populate westbound in the other direction. You can also set the route color here if you wish, and that would be whatever you decide if you're defining a new route. Once you create the new route, it will automatically add that new route into the routes panel list of routes, and it will create two patterns if it is a bidirectional route. In this case, it was a northbound, southbound pattern, so it created two new route patterns in each direction. Here are the definitions. for the route types and technologies. So if you want to use this as a reference when the slides come out, you can. It's also in the user guide. Here's the BRT modeling interface. If you define a route as a BRT, then you're able to access this menu when you right click on a route to get to the BRT adjustments dialog. So only if you define the route as a BRT will this particular menu option show up, and then you're able to get to this to set the characteristics. You also have a route pattern service editor. And so this is a nice little dialog that will show you all the patterns in your route. And in this case, it's showing service span in hours for each of the TBEST time periods. But you can also get to headway, trips, travel time, and speed through this drop-down list to show what patterns are in service by what time of day, and also kind of view this information from a pattern perspective, a pattern service perspective. So at the route level, it might mean one thing. Okay, yes, we have service on the weekday and at AM peak and PM peak. But if you look at it individually by pattern, it can tell a very different story about where all the service is. And so this is what this is really helpful at doing is looking at your information by pattern, your service information. So this delete button will allow you to delete the pattern, actually delete all of it, geography and everything. You also have the plus button that will take you into the trip service editor, so where you can actually edit the service for the pattern, which we'll get to. We've looked at this already, so I'm not going to go into this too much, but you can set the route types for multiple selections and colors and all the operating conditions using this dialog as well. For example, you can select all new routes in the network and set the route color to green. You can update the operating cost for just BRT routes to $150 per hour. You can add or remove a route name prefix like the name of the agency or route type. So all these can be done with a selected set of routes. Okay, good time. So our ridership forecasting model run is now complete. We can say, okay, yes, we're going to close the dialog. And okay, so I'm going to switch over to the exercises. And 6.1 is route network editor. The exercise step 1, create a Gatorville bus route. So we're going to open the TDP 2030 scenario. So right click on it and select open scenario network editor. And we're going to use the routes panel in the toolbar to add a new route. You could also add it right here. Either way is the same dialog. It's going to be a new radial route, and it's going to be a bus technology. The route name is 88, and the description is tower/UF. And the direction is eastbound, westbound. So if I select eastbound, it will automatically select westbound here. The route color is fine, but you want to look one up, you can. If you want to make it lighter color or darker, etc., you can do that. I'll just take my purple color, that's fine. And I'll say OK when complete. Oh. Okay. I'm assuming everyone is done. So with their model run. So I don't want to, if people are still running their model, I don't want to go too far in this. So let me know if you're still running. Okay, great. So I'm going to just say OK here, and it will create my new Route 88 and place that into my list of routes and automatically create an eastbound and westbound pattern for me to edit.